Answer me, kid. Which generation actually survives the collapse? Yours? Gen Z with your 7-second attention span, dopamine-fried brain, and panic attack every time Wi-Fi hiccups? You scroll through survival channels telling you bedtime stories like, here's how to survive the first day, the first 3 days, the first week, complete with dramatic music and glowing red thumbnails, and you think, yeah, I'd totally make it. Sure you would, right after you figure out how to boil water without Googling how to boil water. First, try to live 3 days in the forest using the skills you learn from those hand-drawn YouTube sketch videos, kid. Then come back and tell me about survival readiness.
Real survival only begins after you somehow stumble through that first month and finally grasps that without long-term planning, you become one more unclaimed body in the background. Your fastest reaction to a TikTok trends will not magically transform into the ability to identify an edible root or repair a broken axle. Sit down. You are confusing digital competence with collapse competence. This isn't even about age. Some people grew up solving problems with their hands. Others grew up typing the first half of a sentence and letting autocomplete save their life. The collapse will be fought between the analog proficient and the digitally fragile.
Let's look at some facts. Gen Z, born 1997 to 2012. Digital Bambi in the wasteland. I'm not gonna lie, Gen Z is fast. You learn new things like you're downloading patches straight into your brain. You've got some solid upsides. You pick things up stupidly fast, handle chaos better than most, and you're basically born with a USB-C port for anything tech-related. And sure, you read people well. I'll give you that. Weaknesses. Oh, kid, buckle up. Long-term planning isn't exactly your sport. You panic even when Google Maps is working, and you treat every YouTube tutorial like it's a diploma. Your sleep habits could qualify as a medical emergency, and if something takes more than 8 seconds to understand, you check out mentally like a guest at a bad hotel. Survival skills score, 3 out of 10. Collapse odds, 20%. Main role, scout runner, water carrier, morale booster. Great at improvising, adapting fast. Terrible at patience, endurance, monotony, discipline.
Millennials, born 1981 to 1996. The burnt-out multi-tool. Man, you all walk around like you haven't slept since 2010. You're smart, practical, and capable of organizing chaos because you lived through the birth of the internet and already watched a few small collapses happen in real life. You didn't grow up in the fully analog world, but you also weren't born into the hyper-digital one either. You caught the internet right as it exploded. Dial-up screeching in the background, early forums, first social networks. You learned tech the old-fashioned way, and you still remember life before everything moved to a smartphone, which is why you can actually follow instructions and keep a routine when needed, assuming you have any energy left. As for weaknesses, well, chronic exhaustion is basically your default setting. You've had back pain since you were 27. You overthink every possible scenario, and anxiety is your background noise. Survival skill score, 7 out of 10. Collapse odds, 55%. Main role, strategist, mediator, logistics coordinator. Great at systems thinking, mental endurance, discipline. Terrible at running on low sleep, you die inside.
Generation X. This is the sweet spot, the apex predator of the collapse. They grew up unsupervised, building things, breaking things, and fixing them without a screen. They lived analog but adapted to digital. They have the perfect combination, the manual skills of the past and the cynical systems thinking of the present. They're the only generation that fully understands both the before and the after. Gen X doesn't need praise, they need tools. They're the backbone of any camp that survives longer than 6 months. Physically, they're in that 40s, 50s zone where the body still holds up, and they've got no illusions left about this shitty world. Give them a couple of pieces of gear, and they'll throw together a functional safe house and rig a rainwater system. All while the younger ones are still arguing about whose turn it is to gather firewood. Survival skill score, 9 out of 10. Collapse odds, 70%. Main role, camp backbone, chief engineer, security brains. Great at practical skills, DIY, and calm under pressure. Terrible at asking for help. They'll die before admitting weakness.
Boomers, born 1946 to 1964. The hardware store that walks. Look, boomers don't move fast anymore. That ship sailed. But they've got skills younger generations don't even know exist. Their knowledge is the irreplaceable foundation. Harvesting, preserving, repairing, building systems from nothing. Skills taught by parents who survived real hardship, war, and scarcity. Their weaknesses? Oh, that part's not subtle. Speed and pride. They'll die before admitting they need rest. But neglect a boomer and you lose the institutional memory needed for any long-term sustainable settlement. Survival score, 8 out of 10. Collapse odds, 40% if protected. Main role, mentor, toolmaster, builder, living encyclopedia. Great at old world survival, craftsmanship. Terrible at running. Don't make them run.
By the way, if your group suddenly needs seeds, a spare water filter, a roll of twine, a tiny sewing kit, or anything that looks useless until it saves the day, guess whose backpack actually has it? Not Gen Z, not always millennials. It's a boomer or a Gen Xer. These people walk into the woods as if they've already decided they live there now. So who survives? If you want a camp that actually survives a year, not 3 days of influence or fantasy, your generation mix should look like this. Gen X equals command and engineering. They keep the house standing. Boomers, craft and mentorship. They keep your tools and brains sharp. Millennials, logistics and communication. They keep the group functioning. Gen Z, adaptive scouts and tech handlers. They keep your camp flexible. Every generation matters. It's about who brings different practical skills to the table once the world stops holding your hand. And let's be honest here, when the internet dies, Gen Z will cycle through all 5 stages of grief before lunch. Millennials will immediately start color-coding a survival meal plan. Gen Xers will quietly fortify the back door, and boomers will be yelling, "I told you this would happen." Your generation won't save you. Your skills will. Learn some.